Hello everyone. It's been a while since I've had made a video about the RCF. Been really busy with a lot of things, personal things, so haven't had a chance to really drive the RCF much, other than the fact that it uh, has, other than the fact that I haven't had much content. I mean, just driving the RCF has been a bit of a challenge, so it's been sitting mostly in my garage. So I thought I'll just make a drive and talk video. Uh, I had actually made a video about my RCF and the spec that it has, and also some of the modifications and how I rate each one of the modifications, but unfortunately it got deleted. So I just thought I'll probably make a video that is a little bit different, make it more like a drive and talk type of format, and kind of drive the car and just talk through the things. So I'll just kind of like it more like a Topher Drive style video. Most of you guys know Topher Drives from Winding Roads. It's one of my favorite channels. Their driving videos have been always been the most on point in terms of giving you specifics about each car without any fluff or, you know, just personal subjective opinions. They really try to keep it, specific to the car and how the car drives and demonstrate as there. So it's really been one of the really my go-to channels. So yeah, if you guys haven't check out Topher Drives or Winding Road. They have amazing videos about drive and talk. So I'm just gonna try to make it a POV, similar type of style of driving. So yeah, right now we're sitting in my garage. I'm gonna get my seatbelt on. Obviously it's a bit of a unique experience having a POV headset and all that stuff, strapped to my head. I'm not used to that at all, and with the camera and all that stuff, it's feels a little weird, but I'm gonna try it out, see how it works. So yeah, I'm sitting in my RCF in my garage, so I'm just gonna start it up. Right now it's gonna be a cold start. Been sitting there for a while, so I'm just gonna put my glasses on and give it a start. So as it's starting up, it's I've shown the interior of the RCF before. I'll pull this window up a little bit. It's a carbon fiber with the TVD torque vectoring differential package, so it's got pretty much all the options. There's the other one, which is the track edition. Obviously that's a different model, but you could basically, other than that, it's got all the options, including all the Mark Levinson and cross traffic alerts and all those things. Power heated seats, heated steering, cold seats, heated steering and all that stuff. I don't use any of them, but yeah, just for what. So I'm gonna first put it into Sport Plus for the driving mode. Torque vectoring, I'm gonna select Slalom. That's the mode that I feel is the best one for the street driving, because it gives you the most nose response, the nose authority at slow speeds. Track mode is more, for track driving. It gives you a lot more ability to rate around the turn. You can carry a lot of speed through turn, pull a lot of G's. The nose would really go where you want to. So that's what the track mode is for. It would just really keep the car tracking in exactly the same trajectory that you're really trying to put it towards. Slalom is more for slower speeds, more street driving, something like 60, 70, 80 miles per hour. That think that it works best at that speed, and below, like 30, 40 miles per hour. It gives you the maximum nose pointing. It just makes the car feel like it's a very short wheelbase car. So my RCF has 21,000 kilometers on it. So I'm just gonna turn off the AC. Just put the ventilations up. So yeah, so I think we're gonna start driving. I'll just drive. I won't do any big acceleration runs, but is this the parking distance sensor? Okay, yeah, I'm outside the garage. I'm gonna put my seatbelt on. I had like a bit of a difficulty turning my head a little bit with the headset on. I had to really turn all the way back. So yeah, we're in the car. So I'm just gonna ready to drive off. Let's maybe put the fan on. Alright, so just gonna drive out. Right now car is really it's cold right now, so the engine and transmission haven't been warmed up. You could see the red line is gradually going up. It's right now at only 6,000 RPM, so it's gonna work its way all the way up to 7,300 RPM. Rev limiter at 7,400. So yeah, it's like my drive is pretty steep, but that's one of the really good things you feel that RCF. When you go over the really steep incline, you can see the chassis is just so stiff. You just don't feel any flex at all. Like the chassis is like like rock solid, like a brick. So yeah, we'll just start driving off. So right now when the transmission is cold, it tends to be a little, even in right now I've got it in Sport Plus mode. My throttle controller is in mode 6, race mode 6. So it gives you in Sport Plus mode, everything really tightens up and really sharpens up. But then the throttle controller even takes it even further and gives you even more throttle response. So construction zone here. So ride is obviously it's stiff, like I've talked about it before. You are gonna feel the bumps. It's supposed to be a car that is supposed to be meant for both streets and the racetrack. So especially with the one that I have, it's a 2016, so it doesn't have adjustable damper. It's like fixed damper, so they're stiff all the time. With the 2017 Plus, you have the ability to soften the car in non-Sport Plus mode. Below Sport Plus mode is where you actually can soften the dampers. In Sport Plus, it's whereas in this one we basically have stiff dampers all the time, right? So the chassis is stiff, suspension is stiff, so you're gonna feel it, right? But the good thing is that it's one and done. It doesn't like all the other cars that I see, because there's chassis softness, and they would have a more wave-like progression, where basically it would just sort of start from one side and go to the other end of the car. So it would just like be a wave-like motion in the car. But in this case, it's just everything is just like you just feel it once and then it dissipates quickly. So that's the good thing about it, like having a very stiff chassis. So yeah, my RCF is about 8 years old, so but it's got only 20,000 kilometers on it, so it's practically brand new. So had to get past that G37. Looks like he wanted to come in. I was like a bit confused. Should I yield to him or so? It's like, yeah, might as well go. Looks like he turning. You can see the tail is kicking out, tires are cold. Coming up to a turn. I'm just gonna really get it into a turning speed. Oh, there's a car coming, so I gotta slow down more. I was gonna try to really take this really sharp turn very aggressively so that you could see how much nose authority you have with the slalom mode and TVD, and just in general the RCF. You could see the suspension and the transmission are really snappy, so you could feel the jerks. But it adds to the character. You know, some people say like, oh, it's not smooth, and the transmission is like snaps hard, and obviously the chassis relays it back to you. But I personally really like it. I don't think I want that, you know, smoothness of where you're not able to really feel it. The transmission, otherwise might as well have a CVT, right? Having a transmission where you shifts, or you want to feel the shifts as long as they're fast, right? If they're very sloppy and slow and, you know, sluggish and it's slipping, you know, through the, then yeah, then that's. This road is not smooth, so you could really feel it, that the suspension is. So yeah, that's one of the big difference you would find in an RCF versus other cars that have this engine, like whether IS500, LC500. RCF is a lot because it was meant to be driven both on the streets and the racetrack. It would be a lot more stiffer, all in all, right? So that's one of the things that I would get asked that question, hey, why did you choose this over? Obviously it's a much smaller car, so has a really good power to weight ratio, smaller compact dimensions, so even though it's like 3,900 plus pounds, but the good thing is that it's a very it's a compact car. Just to put things in perspective, the RCF is slightly longer than an M2, the G87 M2, and it's narrower than the G87. It's like 73 inches or something, whereas the M2 is like 75 point something. So you could see that in modern day the RCF would, like a Mustang for example, is about 5 or 6 inch bigger, and M3 or M4 are about 5 or 6 inch bigger. So you feel the car is very compact. It's very small in its dimensions, so the weight is really centered around a very compact body. So obviously the car always tempts you to want to go. You have to really restrain yourself, because it's, especially with some of the mods that I have the pulleys from RR Racing, and I've got the full NVIDIA exhaust. I got the RR Racing software tune, and then I got the RR Racing bushings. So yeah, what are these guys doing? They all just keep jumping in. And then our throttle controller, that doesn't really add any power, but it just makes everything really more immediate. Sport Plus is a really good sharp throttle response, but if you want even more, then you could do a throttle controller. So how fast I was able to get past and down into second. Really just whip over 3 lanes and then really in a very sharp, so that's really the amazing part of this car, that it really does everything. People would always talk about the weight and all that stuff, but trust me, like, it's the car, if it's dialed in properly, good tires, really nice tire setup, and your suspension is all good, even stock form, it's amazing. So yeah, lots of traffic here. Any new things that I haven't been planning any mods recently, because been just so busy. I think the car, the way it's set up right now, it's just so everything is just so well balanced with each other. The power is more than stock, obviously more like about 505, 510 horsepower. So I got a bit more horsepower than the stock car has at a 472 or something. And the suspension already is really well set up. I had tires that I didn't like, the OEM Pilot Super Sport tires that it came with. They had really good grip, but just didn't have enough lateral strength, so to speak. The tires could not really, they would grip so hard, but then the sidewalls would start to really buckle. So the grip would not run out, but the sidewalls would start to kind of get overloaded. I didn't like that about the stock. I think Lexus did it on purpose because they didn't want the car to be too because they wanted to make sure that the car could be comfortable in daily driving as well. So I went with a bit more aggressive tire setup. It is still a Pilot Sport 4S tire, but it's just that the load rating is higher than what RCF stock tires are rated at. So it's roughly about the same. My front tires are about the same stiffness as the stock rear was, and the rears are much stiffer sidewall wise. So what that really does, that it gives you that immediate response when you really want to get the nose quickly snap in direction. It would give you that, because there won't be the sidewall wouldn't load up first. It would just, the sidewall would just immediately transfer the power into a rotational moment, right? So that's kind of what the really good thing is about these tires. I like them a lot more than the stock ones that we had, and they still give really good traction in the wet. And then and then probably try to do a little bit of an acceleration run from here to now. I think probably the acceleration run that I will do is gonna be, just look at how fast you can get to about 62 mile per hour, 100 kilometers. Okay, yeah, so we got interrupted because the camera, it probably overheated and it shut down, so I couldn't really quite finish that acceleration run that I was gonna do. But I think I'm gonna try to see if I could capture some more footage, some driving footage, going back from here. So again, I've dialed it up. So I'm here in a car wash, so I'm just gonna sort of like go from here, so, and drive and talk from this point on. So we're just gonna exit from yeah, the last time we were talking about acceleration, like on the street, like 505, 510 horsepower is like, I don't know, it's just their cars are getting really, really powerful. Like now we're looking at 700 horsepower cars. I just don't know, even if you're taking to the track, like, I mean, what exactly the point is to, I mean, I know people like to do that to get the bragging rights of having the most powerful car on the street. Having something that's running 0 to 60 in 3.1, 3 seconds, 2.9 is gonna be something that's pretty commonplace. So at one point I remember 510 horsepower, having a car that can do like 0 to 60 in high threes, like my in modified form. I can do that, and quarter mile in probably like 12 or high 11s was really incredible amount of performance. Now if you look at it on the media, you will see like now it's not that big of a deal. Now you have cars like the newest generation M cars. They are able to do 0 to 60s in 2.8, 2.7 seconds, with the all-wheel drive and all that stuff, right? But I just don't think I'm not really into that kind of stuff. For me, yeah, speed is important. Having a fast car really gives you good, but it's more about the experience itself that really matters while going fast. So I think that's kind of like there's a bit of a cross section between the two, where the intersection point is between how much fun the car is versus how fast it is. If you are going into turbo hybrid, I think there's a thing about having a naturally aspirated high revving engine that is still fast. Still you're faster than 95. So that was literally 100 kilometer. Like I just didn't even really give it full throttle. Like it was more part throttle. Oh, that bird. But it still kind of was more than enough performance for and I had all that sound and the visceral response, the immediate power available. That okay, the guy doesn't want to go. So that's like literally 62, 63 miles per hour, 102, 203 kilometers. So that's all it took for me to get to 102, 203 kilometers per hour, or 62, 63 miles per hour. They call me crazy, but I just don't know. Like, I go to the racetrack and the car would do hard laps all day without complaining, without going to limp mode, without complaining, without falling off the cliff. Run the same performance in 10 laps. That the 10th lap would be pretty much the similar performance within 98, 97% of the fastest one. It would continue to run that. I mean, it's not like meant to break records or set the fastest lap time, but it just does everything really well. So and then also it's very exciting to drive. 8 years since I've bought this car, and I don't really see anything that makes me want to not drive it. Like, it's always something that I look forward to. So yeah, here's some place to do some acceleration runs. And also it's got a lot of practicality. I get to enjoy it with my kids, like have two back seats, some kid seats in the back, have enough practicality to put stuff in the trunk. It's a really good, well balanced package. I think that's what I And especially with the RCF being in its last year. So that was like 120 kilometers an hour on the speedo. So you could see like how it doesn't take much for you to get to those crazy speeds. Just a few seconds and you're doing like 120 kilometers on us, in Mexico. So stock suspension is really good. Like that's one of the chassis and suspension. I think they're people critical of the weight of the car. It's one of the suspension is built on lightweight technology. Like there's a lot of aluminum they used, but the chassis obviously has a lot of reinforcements on it to make it very stiff, and that adds weight, right? So that's one of the things that the GT3 racing car RCF is, because it uses the same chassis. I've heard the teams talk about that, IMSA teams, for RCF, that yeah, the chassis is heavier than usual, but it wins races, right, with that same chassis. It's not inherently the most ideal, but because it's got a short wheelbase, which means a lot of response. When you have a short wheelbase, you can really get the car to really respond very well to your inputs. It's going to respond faster because your wheels are closer. Long wheelbase, you think limousines. Limousines, you know how they don't want to turn, right? It's the same thing, right? So long wheelbase is inherently not really conducive to having a really responsive front end, right? That's kind of like it's just physics. They do try and come up with rear wheel steering and all these technologies to really make it turn like a shorter wheelbase. But if you have a car that inherently has a short wheelbase, in this case 107 inches, which is really, really short. It's shorter than my IS 350 Sport that I have. That one has 110 inch wheelbase. This one has a shorter wheelbase than my IS. So that really makes the car more. But the thing is that short wheelbase is not comfortable. It's gonna transmit more harshness to that's the downside of the short wheelbase, and the fact that it would tend to be very twitchy at the limit. So that's one of the things about the RCF. You saw like at one point I had a turn and then the tires were cold and I really stepped on it. The tail went crazy. But it's really fun. It's very safe. Yeah, the tail would kick out on you, it would snap out on you, but it's very easy for you to control because there's just so much grip available on the rear. So if it snaps out, you can regain the grip really fast. So this transmission has always been something that they've always said, yeah, it's not a dual clutch. The way they've tuned it, implemented in RCF, the software tune for RCF is different than it is for other cars that have similar transmission. So the software tune that they did for RCF it's really good. When you're really it's warmed up, you're driving near you're really pushing it, the transmission would snap really fast. So when it's cold and you're driving slow below 4,000 RPM, it is going to be a little bit on the, it's going to be jerky. And so now we're get it into, so this turn I have no problems doing 70-80 miles per hour. Obviously there are cars in front of me, but I have no issues, even 7/10 for me to catch up to the Civic. I'll pass the Civic here, turn in tighter, go on the throttle, let's go. Pass this truck hopefully. So you could see, like, you could blast, like, I mean, you know, it's not RCF is, especially if you do small changes to it, you could make a great car into even something that is epic, basically, you know, with a few small changes and stuff. The car, like, from the factories, oh, look at that truck. That truck was swerving. What is he doing? Man, that's pretty scary. Big truck swerving like that. Genesis G70. So I have so people ask me, like, do I get a lot of attention? Yes. Obviously it's a car that looks like nothing on the road. Is this G70 trying to pace me? Really? Yeah, looks like this G70 is really trying to play with me. But anyways, I'm going to ignore that. So yeah, you saw that there's G70 was really trying to pace me until he had a car in front of him. So yeah, attention. I do get oh, there's a Mark IV Supra, a green Mark IV Supra. So yeah, I get, like, people who want to race and all that stuff. That's also something that's pretty normal. You just have to get used to it. Just not take the bait. It's just not worth it on the streets. You know, on the racetrack, I would be happy to really try and see if I could, you know, catch up to that next car in front of me and all that stuff. It's on the track. It's you know, it's a lot of fun, but got so many cars coming in front of me.